The calm before the storm. The Galactic Empire ruled over the galaxy with an iron fist. Its vast fleet of warships, advanced technology, and powerful commanders had made it the most feared force in the known universe. For centuries, the Empire's dominance was unchallenged. No one dared question its power, and no one could rival its military might. Across countless star systems, the Empire's influence spread like a dark shadow, and the people lived in fear. In the Grand Command Center of the Empire, high-ranking officers sat at their stations, discussing strategies to expand their reign. They were confident in their superiority. Each officer knew that no matter what came their way, the Empire would crush it. They had the most powerful weapons, the largest fleets, and the most advanced technology. Nothing could stop them. But as they planned their next move, a strange silence filled the galaxy. It was as if the stars themselves were holding their breath. The Empire's enemies were few and far between, but for some reason, no one seemed to be challenging them anymore. Their scouts reported little activity in the outer reaches of the galaxy, and the rebellion they had been hunting for years had all but disappeared. It was the calmest time the Empire had ever known. The officers in the command center felt secure, perhaps even too secure. They dismissed any worries about hidden threats. After all, nothing could stand against the might of the Empire. Their most dangerous foes were already crushed, and the rest of the galaxy was either too weak or too fearful to oppose them. The idea that there could be something greater than their empire, something they hadn't discovered yet, seemed impossible. However, deep within the galaxy, something was stirring. Hidden away from the Empire's prying eyes, in the vast darkness of an uncharted sector, a force was silently growing. The Empire had long since turned its attention away from these distant regions. There were no major resources to be found, no powerful factions to conquer, and no strategic military advantages. It seemed like a dead corner of the galaxy, but the Empire had missed something that was now ready to reveal itself. Far from the Empire's reach, a team of humans worked in secret, their hands moving with precision as they completed their most important mission. They had been planning this for decades, preparing a force so powerful it could challenge the very foundation of the Empire's rule. This secret weapon was their greatest achievement, a supercarrier built to be humanity's last line of defense, their trump card. It was designed to be hidden, to lie in wait, and to strike at the moment when the galaxy least expected it. The human engineers and soldiers who had worked on this project knew that they were up against a powerful enemy. They also knew that if the Empire ever discovered their hidden force, they would stop at nothing to destroy it. So, they worked in the shadows, keeping their progress hidden from prying eyes. The supercarrier was not just a ship. It was a symbol of humanity's resilience, ingenuity, and strength. The Empire thought humanity was weak and insignificant, but they were wrong. This ship was humanity's answer to the galaxy's greatest tyranny. In the quiet darkness of space, the ship's systems powered up, slowly and silently. It had been dormant for years, hidden deep in an unknown sector, waiting for its moment. The Empire had no idea what was coming. To them, it was just another quiet part of the galaxy, another place with no significance. But in that moment of calm, in that time of peace, the Empire's fate was slowly changing. The humans aboard the supercarrier were ready. They had prepared for this moment for years. They had the technology, the knowledge, and the will to make their mark on the galaxy. They weren't just defending themselves anymore. They were preparing to strike back. The supercarrier was humanity's ultimate weapon, and it was about to shake the galaxy to its core. The calm that the Empire enjoyed was only temporary. What they didn't know was that this silence was the calm before the storm. They had no idea that humanity was quietly, secretly, preparing a force that could bring even the most powerful empire to its knees. As the supercarrier's systems hummed to life, its weapons primed and ready, the Empire's greatest shock was about to unfold. But for now, all remained quiet. The officers in the Empire's command center continued their discussions, confident in their unchallenged rule. They had no reason to believe anything could threaten them. After all, the galaxy was theirs to command. But the truth was, they were unaware of the storm brewing just beyond their reach. It was coming, and they were not ready for it. This calm would not last long. The Empire's peace would soon be shattered, and nothing would ever be the same again. Humanity was preparing to rise. The question was no longer if they could defeat the Empire, but when they would strike. And when they did, the Empire would realize that the galaxy was about to be changed forever. The discovery. Weeks passed, and the Galactic Empire's attention remained focused on expanding its dominance. Commanders led their fleets into new systems, pushing the borders of their territory further and further. There were no signs of any resistance, no signs of any rebellion that could challenge the Empire's might. Their confidence grew each day, and their patrols became more routine. But one day, a small Imperial scout ship, far from the main fleets, detected something strange. It was barely more than a blip on their radar, a faint signal from a distant star system, one that the Empire had long ignored. The system wasn't considered valuable. There were no natural resources to exploit, no strategic military advantage to gain. It was just another empty corner of space. At first, the scout ship's officers dismissed the signal as a glitch. They had encountered plenty of false readings in their time. But something about this one caught their attention. It wasn't just a random signal. It was too strong, too structured. The ship's sensors couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was, but the signal was unmistakable. It was coming from a massive object. Curiosity overcame the officers. Despite the system's insignificance, they decided to investigate further. They transmitted a report back to the Imperial Command, and soon, a small fleet was dispatched to investigate. The Empire had learned to leave no stone unturned, even in the quiet corners of space. As the fleet moved closer to the source of the signal, they found something that made their jaws drop. It wasn't just a ship. It was a massive supercarrier, hidden in the vast emptiness of the system, a weapon unlike anything they had ever seen before. The ship was colossal, its size dwarfing even the largest warships in the Empire's fleet. Its hull was dark and sleek, almost invisible against the backdrop of space, as if it had been designed to blend into the shadows. The Empire's fleet commanders could hardly believe what they were seeing. A ship of this magnitude should not have been here. They had no record of it, no intel on its existence. It was a mystery, and the more they tried to understand it, the more questions it raised. At first, the fleet commanders thought it was abandoned, an old relic from a time long past. But as they got closer, the supercarrier's systems suddenly powered up, its engines humming with energy. Its weapons came online, and the Empire's fleet began to feel a chilling unease. This was no abandoned vessel. This was something new, something alive. The commanders ordered their fleet to approach with caution. But the supercarrier didn't just wait passively. It responded. Massive turrets hidden along its hull began to rotate, pointing toward the Empire's ships. A deep, resonating hum filled the air as the supercarrier activated its weapons systems. The Empire's fleet commander, a seasoned officer named General Varker, felt a rush of cold dread. He had seen many battles, fought countless enemies, but this was different. This ship was not like anything the Empire had ever encountered. It was a silent giant, seemingly waiting for the right moment to strike. "Hold your positions," General Varker commanded, his voice steady but laced with uncertainty. "We need to figure out what we're dealing with before we make any rash decisions." He ordered a scan of the ship, and the results only deepened the mystery. The supercarrier's technology was far beyond the Empire's own. It had weapons capable of destroying fleets in seconds, shields that were impervious to most forms of attack, and systems that appeared to be decades ahead of anything the Empire had ever developed. The fleet commanders knew they had to report this to the Empire's high command immediately. But there was something else about the supercarrier that made them hesitate. It was familiar. In the deepest recesses of their minds, they recognized something about this ship, something that struck a chord deep within them. Before they could make sense of it, the supercarrier suddenly shifted into motion. It wasn't just drifting aimlessly. It was calculating, moving with purpose. The Empire's ships followed closely, unsure of what the massive vessel would do next. And then, without warning, the supercarrier fired. A beam of energy erupted from one of its massive turrets, cutting through the darkness of space like a blade. The shot was so powerful it disabled one of the Empire's destroyers in an instant. The fleet commanders scrambled to respond, but the supercarrier was too quick, its weapons far too advanced for them to keep up. The battle had begun, but the Empire was caught off guard. The hidden supercarrier, with its unknown origin and unbelievable power, was about to change the course of the war. And the Empire had no idea who was behind this mysterious force, or what it meant for their future. As the dust of the first assault settled, General Varker's mind raced. "This isn't a fluke," he muttered. "This ship is no accident, and we have no idea who or what is behind it." The truth was simple. Humanity had a secret, and the Empire was about to learn it the hard way. The Empire had spent so long thinking of humanity as weak and insignificant, but they were about to discover just how wrong they were. And the shockwave from this discovery would shake the galaxy to its core. Rising tension. As the Empire's fleet pulled back, stunned by the unexpected attack from the hidden supercarrier, General Varker stood at the helm of his flagship, his mind racing. The destruction of the Empire's destroyer had been swift and overwhelming. The general had never witnessed such power, and he knew that this new threat wasn't something to be underestimated. The Empire's command structure quickly recognized that this was no ordinary ship. This was a force capable of wreaking havoc. The fleet commanders made an urgent call to the Imperial High Command, but even their most advanced systems couldn't get a clear read on the supercarrier. They were trying to scan it for any weaknesses, trying to understand its technology, but it was like trying to analyze a ghost. The supercarrier's advanced systems blocked their attempts, leaving them in the dark. For the first time in years, the Empire was facing an unknown force, and that thought alone sent ripples of fear throughout the ranks. As the Empire scrambled to understand what they were dealing with, the supercarrier didn't stop. It continued to move across the vast expanse of space, its engines powered by unknown energy sources. The weapons that had earlier disabled the Empire's destroyer were now aimed at another Imperial vessel. The silent, towering behemoth didn't seem to care about any resistance it faced. It moved with purpose, like a predator stalking its prey. Reports of the battle spread quickly throughout the Empire, causing panic and confusion among the lower ranks. Soldiers and officers alike were left questioning what they had just seen. How could such a ship exist? What was its purpose? And who was behind it? Meanwhile, aboard the supercarrier, the humans who had hidden it for so long watched the unfolding events. They knew that this moment was inevitable, but it still felt surreal. They had designed the supercarrier not only as a weapon but as a symbol, a reminder to the galaxy that humanity was not weak. They had been biding their time, staying hidden, waiting for the right moment to strike back at the Empire's oppression. The supercarrier's captain, a seasoned military strategist named Commander Alara, stood in the command center, her eyes locked on the screen. Her fingers hovered over the control panels, ready to issue the next command. She was calm, but beneath her cool demeanor, a sense of determination burned. The humans had been living in the shadows for too long. Now they were finally stepping into the light. "We need to continue the assault," Commander Alara ordered. "This is only the beginning. The Empire must understand that we are not a threat they can ignore anymore. We will show them our strength, and we will do it on our terms." Her voice was unwavering, filled with the same quiet confidence that had been instilled in her by the generations of humans who had worked to build the supercarrier. They had spent years in secrecy, knowing that one day they would rise. And now that day had arrived. Back in the Empire's command center, the tone was far less confident. General Varker and his fleet commanders had gathered in a secure meeting room. trying to formulate a plan. The supercarrier's attack was just the beginning, and they knew they had to respond quickly. "It's clear we're dealing with something far beyond our capabilities," Varker said grimly. "Our scanners can't penetrate its defenses. We can't match its firepower. We need reinforcements, immediately." His words echoed across the room, but the room's silence spoke volumes. The Empire was used to being in control, to having the upper hand, but now they were on the back foot. They had never faced an opponent like this, and they had no idea how to fight it. "We need more information," one of the officers said. "If we can understand how their technology works, we might be able to find a weakness." General Varker nodded. "We'll need to send in scouts. Get closer to their position without triggering another attack. If we can identify the ship's vulnerabilities, we might stand a chance." But as the general spoke, the tension in the room was palpable. The Empire was not used to being the underdog, and yet in this battle, that was exactly what they had become. The feeling of vulnerability was strange, unfamiliar, and the more they studied the situation, the more they realized that this wasn't just an ordinary ship. It was a statement. The humans who had built the Supercarrier had one goal: to show the Empire that humanity was not weak, that they had the power to fight back. The Empire had overlooked them for too long, assuming that their small, seemingly insignificant species posed no threat. Now, humanity was proving just how wrong the Empire had been. Back aboard the Supercarrier, Commander Alara prepared her next move. The Empire was not just a threat to humanity. It was the enemy that had caused endless suffering across the galaxy. It had crushed countless worlds, enslaved entire populations, and ruled with an iron fist. Humanity had suffered under the Empire's yoke for too long, and the Supercarrier was their answer. She issued a new command: "Prepare the fleet for another assault. This time, we take their strongest ship." The Supercarrier's weapons powered up once again, and the ship's engines roared to life. As it moved deeper into the Empire's territory, its hidden power was on full display. With every attack, it shook the Empire's confidence further. The fear in the Empire's ranks was growing. What was once considered an unstoppable force was now facing the unthinkable. The reality that a hidden power existed, one that could challenge their entire rule. The Supercarrier was no longer just a ship. It was a force that symbolized humanity's rise from the shadows, ready to shake the galaxy and take down the Empire's reign. As the Empire watched in fear, they realized that the tension they were feeling was only the beginning. The real battle had just begun, and it was a battle that would change the course of the galaxy forever. The truth revealed. The tension was palpable across the Galactic Empire. As the Supercarrier continued its assault, devastating Imperial ships and forcing entire fleets into retreat, General Varker's worst fears began to crystallize. The truth was undeniable. This was no random attack. It was a coordinated, strategic effort by a hidden enemy. And as the Supercarrier moved deeper into Imperial space, it became clear that the ship wasn't just a weapon. It was a declaration of war. Back at the Empire's command center, the senior officers were in crisis mode. Reports were coming in from all fronts, detailing the growing destruction and the increasing confusion among their forces. The Imperial fleet, once proud and invincible, was now facing a hidden adversary they couldn't understand. Each encounter with the Supercarrier left more of their ships disabled, and their attempts to fight back had only met with failure. "What do we know about this ship?" Varker demanded, his voice sharp and frustrated as he addressed his intelligence officers. The officer in charge of intelligence hesitated before speaking. "We've had trouble getting a clear read on its technology. Whatever it's made of, it's beyond anything we've seen before. It's not just the firepower. It's the way the ship's systems are designed. It doesn't follow any of the Empire's known principles of shipbuilding or weaponry." General Varker clenched his fists. "So we don't know who built it, or where it came from?" The officer nodded, looking grim. "No, General, but we do have one thing. We've detected a faint trace of human technology. It's faint, but it's there." The systems are a match to some long-forgotten military designs we once encountered, but we thought they were abandoned. Human technology. The words echoed in the general's mind. For the first time, he began to piece together what had been hidden for so long. Humanity, once thought to be insignificant in the grand scheme of galactic politics, had been quietly working in the shadows, creating something that could challenge the might of the Empire. The Supercarrier was proof of their ingenuity and of their resolve. The truth was out. Humanity had survived. And not only that, they had been preparing for a time when the Empire's rule would no longer be unquestioned. The Supercarrier was not just a weapon of war. It was a symbol of humanity's defiance. It was their message to the Empire that they would no longer be a forgotten, oppressed species. They were rising, and the Empire had ignored them for far too long. Humanity, Varkor muttered under his breath. We thought they were insignificant. We thought they were weak. He turned to the Council of Senior Officers and spoke with a heavy heart. This changes everything. We've been underestimating them for years. Humanity wasn't crushed. They were hiding. And now they've come for us. As the realization dawned on the Imperial High Command, a deep sense of dread settled in. The Empire had always viewed humanity as a minor threat, something to be easily pushed aside. Their technological advancements were seen as outdated, their ships weak compared to the mighty warships of the Empire. But now, this hidden supercarrier proved just how wrong they had been. The officers knew that this would require more than just reinforcements. It would require a complete shift in their strategy. But no matter what, they had to destroy this threat. If the supercarrier was allowed to continue its path, humanity's message would be clear. The Empire was no longer the dominant power in the galaxy. Back on the supercarrier, Commander Alara stared out into the depths of space. The report from her crew confirmed what she already knew. The Empire was beginning to realize who they were facing. Humanity's greatest secret had been revealed, and it was a secret that would shake the very foundations of the Empire. She turned to her officers, her voice resolute. "This is it," she said, her voice calm but filled with an intensity that could not be ignored. "The Empire knows who we are now. They will come at us with everything they have. But we are ready. We've waited long enough for this moment, and now the galaxy will know. Humanity is not weak. We are not the prey. We are the hunters." As her words echoed in the command center, the crew aboard the supercarrier began to prepare for the next phase of their operation. The time had come to show the Empire that humanity was not just a species that survived. It was a species that could fight, adapt, and rise. The supercarrier was their weapon, their message to the galaxy, and it was just getting started. Back in the Empire's command center, Varkor's strategy began to take shape. They would need to send in their most elite forces, gather every resource at their disposal, and bring the full might of the Empire to bear on this threat. But the more they learned about the supercarrier, the more they realized how much they had underestimated humanity. Every plan they devised felt more desperate than the last, and no matter what they did, the supercarrier seemed to be one step ahead. Varkor looked out the window at the stars, the weight of his realization settling in. "This will not be easy," he muttered, "but it must be done. For the survival of the Empire, we will crush them." But deep inside, Varkor knew that the Empire had just made a grave mistake. Humanity was no longer a distant memory. They were a rising force, and the storm they had unleashed would not be easily quelled. The galaxy would never be the same again. The battle intensifies. The galaxy trembled as the Empire prepared for what could be their most significant battle in centuries. General Varkor, now fully aware of the threat humanity posed, knew the coming confrontation would be unlike anything the Empire had ever faced. Humanity's hidden supercarrier was no longer just an anomaly. It was a full-scale challenge to the Empire's absolute dominance. The galaxy's most powerful military force was about to collide with a force they had long dismissed. As the Empire's flagship battle fleet assembled, the tension in the command center reached a boiling point. Varkor studied the intelligence reports with grim determination. The supercarrier, despite its immense firepower, had not yet shown its full hand. The question now was how much more devastating it could be. "We're facing a new kind of war," Varkor said to his officers, his voice low but authoritative. "We're not dealing with a conventional enemy. These humans have technology we've never seen before, and they're using it in ways we can't predict." His officers nodded, each one fully aware of the stakes. The Empire had faced rebellions before, but nothing on this scale. The supercarrier was not just an enemy ship. It was a symbol of humanity's fight for survival, and it was giving the Empire its first real challenge in years. "Prepare the fleet for battle," Varkor ordered. "We will hit them hard and fast. No hesitation." Meanwhile, aboard the supercarrier, Commander Alara stood before her crew, watching the Empire's fleet approach. She had anticipated this move. The Empire would throw everything it had at them, hoping to crush their newfound strength before it could spread. But humanity was ready. For too long, they had hidden in the shadows. Now they were stepping into the light, and nothing would stop them. "Prepare the ship," she said, her voice steady and calm. "We've trained for this moment. Our strategy is clear. We hit them where it hurts." The supercarrier's massive weapons systems powered up, its sleek, dark hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. It was a sight that sent chills through any who saw it. The ship wasn't just a tool of war. It was an extension of humanity's will to survive, to show that they were not a species to be ignored or crushed. As the two forces neared each other in space, the calm before the storm became unbearable. For a moment, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the first strike. And then, without warning, the supercarrier unleashed its full might. A wave of energy blasts erupted from the ship, cutting through space with deadly precision. The first Imperial vessel in its path was destroyed in an instant, its shields no match for the supercarrier's advanced weaponry. The Empire's fleet retaliated, launching salvo after salvo of missiles and energy beams toward the supercarrier. But it moved like a living thing, dodging and weaving with agility that belied its massive size. The Empire's ships had no time to adjust to this new kind of warfare. The supercarrier's advanced sensors anticipated every move, and its counterattacks were swift and unforgiving. The Empire's fleet commanders were caught off guard, unable to find a weakness to exploit. Every strategy they tried failed as the supercarrier's weapons rained destruction down on their forces. One by one, Imperial warships fell, torn apart by the supercarrier's overwhelming firepower. Its weapon systems were unlike anything the Empire had ever seen, far more advanced than their own. The Empire's fleet was crumbling, and they were helpless to stop it. Back in the Empire's command center, the mood had shifted from confidence to panic. "What do we do now?" an officer asked, his voice shaking with fear. "We can't fight back like this." Varkor slammed his fist onto the table, his face red with frustration. "We have no choice. We fight until we've crushed them, or until we've exhausted everything we have. Send reinforcements. Bring in the battle stations from the outer sectors." But it was too late. The Empire's fleet had already suffered massive losses, and the reinforcements wouldn't arrive in time. The supercarrier was too fast, too powerful, and it was showing no signs of slowing down. In the heart of the battle, Commander Alara gave her next orders. "Focus fire on their command ship," she commanded. "If we can disable their leader, the rest will fall apart." The supercarrier adjusted its trajectory and launched a devastating series of energy beams at the lead Imperial battleship. The ship's shields were quickly overwhelmed, and within moments, it exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The Empire's fleet was now in disarray. Ships scattered in all directions, trying to escape the relentless assault of humanity's hidden weapon. The battle was one-sided, with the supercarrier picking off ships one by one. The Empire's once proud military machine was being torn apart by a force they hadn't seen coming. The might of the Empire was no longer enough to guarantee victory. Humanity had proven that their resolve was stronger than the Empire's arrogance. But even as the supercarrier continued its dominance, Commander Alara knew that this victory was just one step in a much larger war. The Empire would not back down easily. They would regroup, rebuild, and come back stronger. The fight for the galaxy had only just begun. For the first time in history, the Galactic Empire was facing an opponent that it could not easily crush. Humanity had found its strength, and now the Empire would learn the hard way that underestimating them had been their greatest mistake. As the battle raged on, the galaxy was changing forever. And the Supercarrier, with its crew of dedicated humans, stood as a beacon of hope, a symbol that humanity would no longer live in the shadow of the Empire. The Galactic Empire shaken. The battle had raged for hours, but in the end, there was no contest. The Galactic Empire's once mighty fleet lay in ruins, shattered by the relentless assault of humanity's hidden supercarrier. Imperial ships drifted lifelessly in space, their lights extinguished, their hulks floating aimlessly. The supercarrier, still operational and undefeated, stood tall in the midst of the devastation, its dark silhouette a testament to humanity's newfound power. General Varker, now on the edge of desperation, watched from his command center as his fleet was decimated. His officers were silent, their faces pale, their confidence shattered. The Empire, which had once crushed any resistance with ease, was now forced to retreat, its vaunted military might laid bare as nothing more than a fragile facade. "It's over," one of the officers said quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. "The supercarrier, it's unstoppable." Varker's eyes burned with fury. He had underestimated humanity. He had dismissed them as a weak, insignificant species. Now they had proven him wrong. The truth was inescapable. The Empire had no answer to the supercarrier's might. Every move they made was anticipated. Every attempt to counterattack had failed. Humanity had risen from the shadows, and the Empire's once iron grip on the galaxy was slipping. He turned to his officers with a hard expression. "We're not finished yet," he said, his voice filled with grim determination. "We'll rebuild, we'll regroup, and we'll take back what's ours. But this time, we'll approach it differently. Humanity's secret is out, and we'll make sure it's their downfall." Despite his words, the truth weighed heavily on him. The Empire had always prided itself on its strength and ability to control the galaxy. But now, the Empire had met its match. The rise of humanity's supercarrier was only the beginning. Varker knew that this was not just a military defeat. It was a deep, existential threat to the Empire's very foundation. Back aboard the supercarrier, Commander Alara stood before her crew, watching the fading remnants of the Empire's fleet. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. Humanity had taken a bold step forward, showing the galaxy that they were not a species to be underestimated or crushed. But she knew that the Empire would not give up so easily. It would regroup, learn from its mistakes, and come back with everything it had. The true challenge was only beginning. "We've proven our strength today," Alara said, her voice calm but filled with purpose. "But we must remain vigilant. The Empire will come for us again. We've shaken them, but they will rebuild. Our fight is far from over." Her officers nodded in agreement. The supercarrier had been humanity's hidden weapon, the symbol of their will to survive and resist. It had been designed to be the tipping point, to give humanity a fighting chance against the overwhelming power of the Empire. But now, the true consequences of their actions were becoming clear. The supercarrier had been a message to the galaxy, and more importantly, a message to the Empire. Humanity was no longer content to live in the shadows. They were ready to fight for their future, to reclaim their place in the galaxy. The Empire had fought them weak. Now they would know just how wrong they were. "We're not alone in this fight," Alara continued, her voice firm. "There are more like us, more systems that have been oppressed for too long. Humanity's rise is just the beginning. We will rally them to our cause. We will fight for freedom. And we will take down the Empire, piece by piece." The crew cheered, their spirits lifted by Alara's words. They had done the impossible. They had struck a blow against the most powerful force in the galaxy. But they knew this was only the first step. They had ignited a spark, but it would take time, strategy, and unity to turn that spark into a raging fire that would consume the Empire once and for all. Meanwhile, the galaxy watched. The Empire's once unquestioned dominance was now under threat. The Supercarrier had struck fear into the hearts of Imperial leaders, and it was only a matter of time before the full weight of humanity's defiance spread throughout the galaxy. The Empire had been shocked, but humanity had not just fought back. They had delivered a message. The galaxy would never be the same again. The balance of power had shifted, and the Empire would have to adapt or face its downfall. The Supercarrier, now a symbol of humanity's resilience and strength, drifted through space, poised to lead the charge for a new era in the galaxy. The road ahead would be long, and the battle would be fierce, but humanity had proven that they were ready for whatever came next. The storm had begun, and nothing would stop it now. The Empire's reign, once seemingly eternal, was now in question, and humanity's story was only beginning.